Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Om Shanti Shanti. Arjuna Vacha Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetrajñamevacha Edadveditumicchami Jnanam Jneyam Chakeshava. This chapter is Kshetrajña Vibhaga Yoga. Arjuna puts a question here. In some renderings of the Gita, this verse is not given. But that verse is good for an introduction. He asks about three pairs of categories: Prakriti and Purusha, Kshetra and Kshetrajna, Jnana and Jnaya. This chapter is more philosophically conceived than the two previous chapters. Here it goes into some of the perennial problems in philosophy and psychology. There are mainly two trends in philosophy, also in science. One is monistic, the other is dualistic. In monistic philosophy, everything is to be reduced to one single principle. In dualistic philosophy, it is taken for granted that there are two entities and there is interaction between the two. And in relating these two, several devices are made by philosophers and scientists. So what we suffer from mostly is not God or truth, but the concept of God and the concept of truth. There are certain aspects of this world, whether we know or not, they affect us. Fire burns us, water quenches thirst, old age comes and we will die. Against this, philosophy has not much to say, except how we prepare ourselves to meet these contingencies of life. But when you accept a certain concept of God, that can affect your whole lifestyle. When you accept a certain philosophical conclusion about truth, the truth of life, that brings a big responsibility to you. Your thinking process is affected, your conclusions are affected. The judgments that you make about things are prejudged. If by knowing, seeing the absolute truth as in Vishwarupa Darshana, as Arjuna had, there should not be any doubt left with him. But that is not so. He has still doubts. And that is why he wanted to clear three major doubts. One is, what is Prakriti and Purusha? As of one pair. Is one emanating from the other, or are they separate? If they are separate, what is the principle of their interaction? Is there any homogeneous link connecting one with the other? The second is, what is knowledge? What is the field of knowledge? And who is supervising that field? Who is sitting in that field and looking at everything? Called Kshetra and Kshetrajna. How may a kind of a watchtower which is placed in the center of this garden of life, and is there a supervising intelligence installed within me which is monitoring everything, looking at everything? And if that is so, how does the field get transformed into knowledge, so that the knower can know it? Sir Arthur Eddington says, when we study physics, we are not studying about earth or water or anything as such, but how earth can be translated into the idea of earth, the properties of the earth into noble entities. And only if they can be put into impressions which the mind can comprehend, the study is possible. So the first thing is, it should be a mental impression, an image in the mind, an image of consciousness. You can only examine the images of your consciousness, not thing as such. Heat means your idea of heat. Light means your impression of light. Then you are scrutinizing that. But then at that stage, can you say it is a field? How do we know that there is a correspondence between the entities in the field and your perception of it? There must be some conceptual mechanism in you which may distort the whole thing. For instance, in the dream, we are seeing things which have no correspondence to anything outside, and that we determine that they are there, and within the frame of reference of dream that look logically sound, feasible, The illogicality of it, the rationality of it is not occurring at that time. Only when you come out of that frame of reference, it sounds illogical. And suppose what we call the wakeful experience itself is such that there is a compulsion by which you think things are like that. What safeguard is there? Probably there is nothing. And so this brings us to the second, the knower and the field. And when you philosophically reduce the knower and the field, it becomes the knowable and knowledge. I know. The idea I know is a knowledge. I am is a knowledge. And knowing is putting, you're seeing that process of the same consciousness. I am knowing this, that this and the I, what difference is there as aspects of knowledge? So some scholars of the Gita think that after the 12th chapter, the last 6 chapters are dealing with a very important word in the dictum Tattvamasi, that is Asi. We have discussed Tat, we have discussed Tom, now we are discussing Asi. That is discussed. Thou or you, that is discussed. Now you are saying Asi, you are, or thou art. To say are is the opposite of are not. Is not. To say is a judgment. And it is not an ordinary judgment, a judgment of absolute certitude. And when we come to such an absolute certitude, on what ground do we make that judgment? That's the important question. Instinctively living our life is one thing, and when it goes wrong somewhere, to set it correct is another thing. See, when there is a physiological malfunction in our instinctive, reflexive, motor behavior, we take such a person to a physician, to a doctor, and we expect that doctor to be a specialist in the understanding of all the functioning of the body. Physiological, biological, psychological. And if he does not know and then he is trying to meddle with it, he only makes the problem more worse. So people tend to become hypochondriacs when they know a little about pathology. This disease may lead to that disease, and that disease may lead to this disease, and therefore they want to take precautions before this changes into that. And the precautions could be more drastic than the disease itself, and thus a real disease can come out of the fear of someone who is administering a wrong measure. It's about physiological troubles. Things are a little more worse because when there is a hypertension or a broken bone or a gastric disease, there's a way of immediately finding it out. If the doctor knows very well, he can put his finger at the right spot and say correction is needed here. But when the malfunction is more deep-rooted, such as a compulsive behavior, a certain kind of paranoia, depression, it is more psychological. Physiologically, the person may show everything as right as another person, but yet mentally is not right, and that it is more difficult. And things are even worse when neither the physician nor the psychologist can find what is wrong with a person's convictions or thoughts because it's purely philosophical. Then the treatment is more elusive. And here it is such a case. Not this is purely a philosophical issue. This includes all the three. The physical, instinctive level, where there are now so many autonomous functions going on in this world. Then a level where it is between the instinctive and the voluntary functions, where consciousness is also an accomplice in the doing of things. So the error can come from the side of consciousness, or it can come from physiological functionings. And a still higher level, the trouble can belong to the society itself. Certain set values of the society which are of a harmful nature, which are not philosophically sound, spiritually sound, ethically normal. An individual who is caught in that society may suffer because of the generality behaving in a certain way. And it can be even still further, where the energy that is operating in a person is not coming from a compulsory drive which is monitored by an instinct. But here the source of energy is rather unknown to us, and people may call it spiritual. And it is so to say an energy that descends rather than an energy that is ascending. So thus we should have a total picture. And when we take such a total picture, we have to think of certain primary things. That is why the 6 darshanas of India, Sankhya and Yoga, Nyaya and Vaisheshika, and Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa, which are called the Astika darshanas, and also the 4 Nastika darshanas, Charvaka, Jaina. For Buddhist schools, the Sautrantika, the Madhyamika, the Yogacharya, the Vaibhashika, these 4 schools, they have gone into some fundamental questions. The question is, what is? What is there? The Orthodox darshanas or the Astika darshanas, they have more or less accepted the Sankhyan epistemology. What is this world and its animation? There are inert things in this world, and also ideas are coming in human mind. Man is aware, and his awareness he can communicate, and another person understands his awareness. You can touch each other, you can exchange words. Even without any word, you can communicate an idea. So they arrived at this concept of a principle that illuminates and a stuff that is illuminated. The principle of illumination they call Purusha, and what is illuminated they call Prakriti. And this was found convenient for other philosophers also, although they did not like making a dichotomy between the illumination and the illuminated. So there should be some way of fixing it. In Western philosophy also, Descartes came and made this separation between mind and matter. And then he had the trouble of making the matter and the mind to work together. And so he had to invent for the body a pineal gland, which is a kind of link between the two things, the body and the mind, interacting through the pineal gland. And he also had to invent a god to go on adjusting them wherever the connection is gone. It's called occasionalism. God is occasionally interfering in the affairs of the world, and he is connecting body to the mind. And another philosopher, Leibniz, he postulated that there is a pre-established harmony between the body and the mind, and they are of like Siamese twins. So when one wants to do a thing, the other also wants to do the same thing. So there is a pre-established harmony. When we come to Indian philosophy, it's considered that Nyaya and Vaisheshika are older than Sankhya and Yoga, because the observation begins with some methodology even before you come to know what the subject is. And the methodology was evolved by the Naiyayikas and the Vaisheshikas, and therefore philosophically, in the philosophical world, they are given a priority. And Naiyayikas, they made a neat world without the aid of any god, Ishvara. But then they found one difficulty. They were depending mainly on say Gautama and Kanada, their philosophies are complementary. So if things are happening by the coming together of Anu or Kana, atoms, and the variegations of objects, variegations of bodies, and the complexity of consciousness that arise from it are all because of the combination of Anus, and then the actions are because of the randomness of the movement of the basic constituents. Karma becomes haphazard. Your action, it has a purely chemical basis. How can you be held responsible for anything? You are doing good and you are doing bad. There is no good or bad or anything. That they didn't like. They thought, no, we should have someone who is watching over our behavior so that our actions can be judged and we can be rewarded. When we do good thing, we are rewarded, and when we do bad thing, we are punished. So there should be a supervising consciousness sitting somewhere. And so they brought in an Ishvara, so to say, through the back door. But was he the creator of the world? He was not the creator of the world. He is also one of the creations. He is a special Atman. Ishvara is also like a person. He is an Atman. Only thing is that this Atman in him was more endowed than us, more perfect than us. And he has nothing to achieve, and his business is to look there and watch, and he is a great facilitator. For instance, if a man is doing certain thing in this life and then he is dying and next life he is coming, how would you find the proper parents? So God should be there as a facilitator to direct his Atma to a particular father and mother who can provide him with such kind of karmendriyas and jnanendriyas and a storehouse of reminiscences with which he can work out his previous karma. Thus, a god of necessity was invented and put as an appendix. So in none of the six darshanas there is a god in the sense in which the Jewish people have a god, the Christians have a god, and the Muslims have a god, and later religions in India such as Sikhism. And the idea of God there is a compromise between the Vedantic Brahman and the Islamic Allah. So it's a more powerful concept is there. Because between Ishvara is not the final in Vedanta, Brahman is the final. Ishvara is only when Brahman is contaminated with the Maya. Only when there is the Ashuddha, the impure, nescience or ignorance conjoined with the Brahman, even though that aspect of Brahman which called Ishvara is a master of it, is not affected by it, there is this negative pole to it. So when that negativity is also effaced away, then alone you arrive at the idea of the absolute in Vedanta. And there, of course, there is difference of opinion between Shankara, Ramanuja and all those people. Thus, this chapter is dealing with a very, very complicated issue. Now, in answer to Arjuna, Bhagavan begins. Idam sharirang kaunteya kshetramityabhidhiyade edatyo vettidam prahuhu kshetrajna iti tatvidaha. This body, O Arjuna, is called the field. And he who knows this, thus they call, who know the knower of the field. Kshetrajna ha iti tadvidaha. Those who know this, prahu, they said. In philosophy, you can only say like that this is the view held. You cannot say this is it. Kshetrajnam chabhimam viddhi sarvakshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetrajnyor jnanam yat jnanam madam mama. And also know me as the knower of the field in all fields, O Bharata Arjuna. That knowledge which refers to the knowledge of the field and the knower of the field, that in my opinion is the knowledge. The first distinction to be made is there is someone to know and something is known. And if there is a knower, the knower should be called, what is he knowing? He is knowing the field in which he is placed. If we begin with our senses, when a baby comes to this world, the baby turns his head in all directions and look. And it turns the ear and listen. And when it is a little more big enough to reach, it reaches with the hand and touch and hold. And if it can drag it to the mouth, bite and taste. And thus we start examining this world, knowing this world. We are the knower of the world, and the world is what is known. These are the first categorization. Then we go here. Krishna makes an immediate connection between all the knowers. It's called the reduction. He said the knower in all beings is me. So the man who is standing here as Krishna, we know certainly if we take him as a person, that person is only in that body of Krishna. He is not present in me, he is not present in you. And so that idol is to be broken. To think that what is said as I or me in Krishna is not like you saying I or me. So forget this body from which this sound comes. Thus you have to face his physical aspect and think of the knower in him as a knower in all. And when we know this, to accept that, It's not possible unless I tamper with my concept of the I, my concept of the me. Now there are two I's and two me's. One is what Krishna says I and I say I. Krishna says me and I say me. And if all the knower in all beings, because I am also a being, is Krishna, then what happens to the I in me, of me, which I was knowing so far? We should consider that either as a false I or a superimposed I or a representative I. Three possibilities are there. You say, I am false. Only Krishna is the right knower. And I was mistaking Krishna for myself. But then I will see the many faults of my faulty behavior, faulty conjectures, faulty conclusions that I arrive at. So could it be Krishna's? Then you can say, the real I of a Krishna was not made to function. I superseded his voice, superseded his thoughts, superseded his judgments. So that is the ego in me. Unless that ego is thrown out of me, I will not be hearing his voice and his true judgments, his discernments. Such kind of an idea comes. In any case, we have to change our original concept of I to accept this statement that Krishna's I is the I in all, is the knower of all. But then how this all this trouble comes? No, there can be another argument for that. See, I am looking through this glass. Recently I made a mistake. I have with me a bottle of a solution. By pressing it, it goes spraying on it and then I clean it. I had also another tube which looked exactly like that, which contains some antibiotic powder. So I just pressed that powder has gone into my glass and it became really opaque. I couldn't see anything in it. So putting an opaque glass and look at the world, I am blind. Similarly, even if it is Krishna who is looking through me, if he is looking through this instrument, which is so spoiled, how could he see anything? If this is a red glass, I see only red things. So the instrument is soiled, or the instrument is spoiled. This is what Sri Ramakrishna says. If the mirror is dirty, it cannot show any image. So it is not because the seer is different, seer is the same. But what is seen through has become defective. So it's only a question of purifying this system. There are so many millions of systems through which this one knower is seeing, one seer is experiencing, but this cannot be defective. Then it's a matter of cleansing. Tat kshetram yachaya drukcha yadvikari yadachayat sajayo yat prabhavacha tat samasena me shrunu. That here in brief from me, what the field is, what it is like, of what it is the modification, and whence and which it is, and what he the knower of the field is, and what is his specialized resulting expression. Here Krishna makes a promise to Arjuna that he will explain all this. And Tat Kshetram, that field, Yatcha, what is that? Yadrukcha, what is it like? Yadvigari, and what are the modifications it undergoes? Yatcha, from where did it come? And Sahacha, and which is it? And what he, the knower of the field, is? What is his specialized resulting expression? Then he said, this is where people do not agree. Rishibhir behudha gidam chandobhir vividhai pradhat brahmasutra padai chaiva hedumatbhir vinichidai. So knowing is not a simple act. To know, you should have a method of knowing. And you should know what is the subject you are studying using that methodology. The first one is called pramana, and then the delimited subject of your study is called prameya. And you should have a philosophical question, a philosophical doubt in your mind. And it is for the clarification of that doubt you are examining, you are putting questions, you are hypothetical, making a hypothesis and then examining it. So that's called samshaya. And you should have a need to know it. If there is no motivation in your knowledge, it does not lead you anywhere. So you should have a direction. It's called prayojana. And you should have examples by which you can illustrate what you have arrived at, so that it can be explained to another person. That's called drishtanta. And after negating all false assumptions, you should be able to come to a certitude, a conclusion which is absolutely certain. That is called siddhanta. And to come to a conclusion, you should be able to arrange your arguments in a systematic way, that from a major premise and a minor premise you can come to a conclusion with the help of a middle term. Then those limbs of arguments are called avayava. And for that you may have to make argumentation and counter-argumentation. It's called tarka. You make a critical examination. Instead of that, you are not just sympathetically agreeing with the other person as you like that person. You should be giving primacy to the relevancy of logic rather than your sympathies or prejudices. So tarka is necessary, because the main thing is to have nirnaya. Because two things may look almost similar and both feasible, and out of which where is the real strength of truth lying, to decide that is called nirnaya. And but you are not always logically disciplined person, and so you may go in a tangent and make funny arguments. And when it is just an argument for argument's sake, can be just a vada. And if that is even much worse, because a person is ignorant and he just goes on blabbering, not knowing what even he is speaking, then he's a jalpa. And a man only wants to win. And so he goes on bringing all kinds of wrong arguments. It's called vidanda. And then there can be really wrong arguments, where that is fundamental errors in your thinking so many such called Hetwabhasa. Chalam is going away from one subject to another subject. In the middle of it, what we were saying, instead of concentrating on that, you go to something else. Then Jati is looking for a loophole in the other man's argument, and you do not find anything real, and then you find that the word which he used has another meaning, or the context has another significance, thus going in a tangent called Jati. Then finally a place you have to say, please shut up, go away, I don't want to argue with you. So such occasions come in life. We should know all these things, otherwise knowledge is not possible. And thus this 22 categories were given by the Nayayikas. So here it is said, Irshibhir Bahudha Geetam Chandobhir Vividhai Pradhat Brahma Sutra Padaichaiva Kedumadhir Vinichidaihi. Sung by rishis in many ways, severely and distinctly in different meters, and also in the aphoristic words of the Brahma Sutras, replete with critical reasoning and positively determined. So this is an evidence that Gita is written after Brahma Sutra, and some of the people who put it into a much earlier period, they have to answer why this words comes there. Mahabhudanyahangaro buddhiravyaktameva cha indriyani dashaiganja panchendriya gocharaha ichcha dvesha sukham dukkham sanghadaschedanatridihi yedakshetram samasena savigaramudahridam. The great elements, ego, sense, reason, and also the unmanifest, the 10 senses and 1 mind, and the 5 conceptual aspects of the senses. Thus the 25 categories of the Sankhyan philosophy is brought, and in a symbolic way trying to put some of them here. But it is not a very easy thing to represent this chapter. Krishna is putting everything into a melting pot, and then with great diligent sorting out, he combines certain things and separates certain things, and this will yield only if we take each word separately and sit with it and leisurely meditate on it and relate it to the previous words and to the next one. You cannot hurry through this chapter. Because here in this picture it may look somewhat disjunct. Here the philosophy that is giving is a unified picture of a unity picture. But in a picture you cannot show it. It's very difficult. If you take your own system, one sense is also adding another sense. When you walk, you are the motion of your leg is also monitored by the eye. Even in the case of a blind person, he has to cock his head in a certain way when he walks so that he gets the orientation of it. And this inner relationship between the uh, organs of perception and the organs of action, how they are centrally coordinated to the central nervous system, which is only physical. But behind the physical, there must be one unifying principle which makes the brain itself function according to a certain rhythm, certain order. And only if we see them all hanging together, we get a picture here. And so the objective part of it, or the faculties, external organs alone, cannot be shown in a coordinated manner. So the first part of it, how he is putting into the second part of it, as if they are going together, which was not done by the Sankhyan. And this is a new way of uniting two things, in which Krishna is doing. Ichchadveshah sukham dukkham sankhadacchedanatridhi yedat kshetram samasena savigara mudahridam. Today we have been studying in Mandukya Upanishad the 7 aspects of Taijasa. The 7 aspects of Vaishvanara came before that, and Vaishvanara itself changes into Taijasa, and Taijasa changes into Prajna. Prajna itself is none other than the Turiyam, or the fourth one. And to bring it at a level which is physiological and to treat it at a level which is psychological, you should have a good insight into both the structure and function, how certain structural coordination are also enabling some functional operation. Because where it is autonomous, the rule is either functioning as a whole or not functioning at all. And this is the major difference which Jung makes between the psyche and the body, or the physiologic function and the psychologic function. This is in modern behaviorist psychology, salivation, for instance, is taken as a psychologic function, which is, of course, is not. It's purely physiological. And they still want to have a study of psychology, and a number of physiological functions which are measurable are taken, and then they are graded and put together and called psychology, which is really funny. There is nothing psychological about it, it's purely physiological. Then where does the psychology comes? Psychology comes when your consciousness can even operate against autonomous functions, which can tame, contradict. There are instincts bruising instincts confronting instincts, and where a superseding element of consciousness comes and regulating that, and out of such confusion, when a personality is evolved, and that which is responsible for the uniqueness of a personality, that is forged out of all these inconsistencies which happen in a body, which is opposed to the compulsion aspect of it. um, in a healthy person, of course. But when that is not possible, then he becomes a neurotic or a psychotic. That's another question. So here Krishna is bringing these 7 categories. Ichha, that is desire. Not just a desire, it's the basis of all volitional decisions which a person takes, desiring and then putting his whole energy into that desire, scheming and planning, manipulating, physically exerting and creating energy and sustaining energy, creating interest, creating attention, sustaining attention, when all these are done. Dvesha, that is one of the so it's like a weapon, dvesha. When an animal is at bay, how it makes special kinds of noises like hissing or barking, a dog, that kind of a dvesha, that is a ploy which we consciously use. And sukham, dukkham, the idea of pain and pleasure. Sankhada, chedana. Sankhada is a number of our senses get together for a coordinated and a concerted action. Chedana, then that animating consciousness which is all pervading in the system. And thriti, that steadfastness by which the ichha is held. Yedat kshetram samasena sa vikaram udahritam. So all these come under kshetra. So we usually include all this in the as proper attributes of the knower. But here he says include all those into the in the field. So the great elements, ego sense, reason, and also the unmanifest, the 10 senses, and the one mind, and the 5 conceptual aspects of the senses, wish, dislike, pleasure, pain, the organic aggregation, vital intelligence, firmness. This in brief is the field with modifications named. Amanitvamadam pitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaujam stairyamahatma vinigraha indriyartheshu vairagyamanahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkadoshanudarshanam asaktiravnavishvanga pudraddharagrahadishu nityam jasamajittattam ishthranishto bhavattishu maijananyayogena bhaktiravyavijarini vivaktajesha sevittamaradirjana samsadi adhyatmajnana nityattam tattvajnanaarthadarshanam yedajnanamidhi proktam ajnanam yadadonyada. Freedom from conventional pride, unpretentiousness, non-hurting, non-retaliating forbearance, straightforwardness, loyal support to the teacher, purity, steadfastness, and the state of self-withdrawal. detachment in respect of sense interests, absence of egoism, insight regarding the pain and evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, without clinging to and without intensely involved attachment to relations such as sons, wives, and property such as houses, and having a constant neutral mental attitude in respect of desirable and the undesirable happenings, devotion to me to the exclusion of everything extraneous, and never straying from the direct path, preference to dwell in a place apart, distaste for crowded living, everlasting affiliation to the wisdom pertaining to the self, insight into the content of philosophical wisdom. This is declared to be wisdom. Whatever is other than is ignorance. So here a list of what should be called jnanam is given. When you have knowledge, what are the conducive states of your mind, or the instrument of discerning knowledge is, so that it won't be colored and you can be at a passive neutral zone and have a correct vision. ज्ञेयं यत्तत् प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्ञात्वा अमृतमश्नुते अनादिमत्परं ब्रह्म न सत्तन्नासदुच्यते. I shall declare that which is to be known, which being known one gains immortality, the beginningless, having me as its supreme culminating factor, the absolute, which is said to be neither existence nor non-existence. So it is hard to even imagine that now we are hearing verses which were given as instruction in a battlefield, and even in a philosophy class in an ashram. This may sound more sublime, subtle, even abstruse. And in the middle of a battlefield, to a warrior, his charioteer was giving these instructions or these teachings, one cannot think of. Sarvadaha panipadam dat sarvadokshishiro mukham sarvashrudimalloge sarvamavritya tishtadi. This is more for meditation than for a philosophical argument. Sarvadaha panipadam dat. Now he is told what is to be known. What is to be known is who your real self is, or Swarupa is. And then, if we go by the previous words where there is a distinction drawn between the field and the knower of the field, the reference should have been to Satchidananda, or pure consciousness. But we see that is not what is done here. Something more ontological is pressed into service here. A thing which can be immediately seen. Sarvadaha panibadam dat. Pani, that is the word of action. That is a symbol of action. And we are in a world where karma or action is going on at all levels. And this very manifested world itself, which we have seen as the field, now in every atom of that field, we are seeing also the knower of the field. The field as such is inertial, it cannot do anything. And hence, the action purport of it should be put on the knower itself. It's not just one hand of Krishna which is there or two hands of Krishna. Krishna's hand is to be seen as everybody's hand because he already said, I am the dweller in all beings. If Krishna is the dweller in all beings, all these hands are his, all these mouths are also his, and all these legs are also his. That is a biographic story of Sri Aurobindo given, that when Sri Aurobindo was taken to the court with the allegation that he was involved in a bomb case and he was a terrorist, when he was led to the court, he saw a tree under which he was standing changed into the form of Krishna. In every branch he could see Krishna. And when he entered the court, he saw the judge as Krishna, the prosecution officer as Krishna, the police as Krishna, his lawyer as Krishna, and only Krishna sitting there. One may say that is a hallucination. Can be. But that was a hallucination, or if it is a hallucination, or a philosophical vision or a spiritual vision, which has changed his entire life. The change was, he could not raise his hand and accuse anyone. He saw a divine meaning in everything. Things good or bad, all those are to be now synchronized into a total function, which is to be known as the divine function. So if you see the seer in all as one seer, then the faculties through which you see also should be related to the same seer. And thus here, Sarvada Panipadam Tat Sarvadokshi Shiro Mukham, all the eyes. The eye, so between the eye and the hand lies our world. We see, we do. We see and we do to move to a certain direction. The direction is a goal set by our intellect. And we move in that direction with our legs. In which direction? The direction of Brahman. And therefore the path is called Brahmacharya. Brahman is the goal and we move, and therefore it is Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya here does not mean just celibacy, but walking in the path of the Absolute. Therefore, what is considered to be the lowest of the extreme aspect of our body and the highest in us, the Alpha and the Omega, they all come into one united single principle. Thus we have to meditate on each of these words, and that will give us the required discipline. सर्वेन्द्रियगुणाभासं सर्वेन्द्रियविवर्जितम् असक्तं सर्वभृच्छैव निर्गुणं गुणभोक्तृ च, shining by the specific characters of the senses, devoid of all sense attributes, unattached, supporting all, without qualities and perceiving qualities. बहिरन्दश्च भूतानमजरं चरमेव च सूक्ष्मत्वात् तद्विज्ञेयं दूरस्थं चान्दिके च तत्. Without and within beings, immobile and mobile too, because subtle, that is unknowable, that stands far and near also. अविभक्तं च भूतेषु विभक्तमिव स्थितं भूतभर्तृ च तज्ज्ञेयं ग्रसिष्णु प्रभविष्णु च. The light even of lights, that is said to be beyond darkness, knowledge, the noble, and what is to be reached through knowledge, particularly located in the hearts of everyone. See, in the Naya Sutra, there is one sutra where there is a reference to Ishvara, which says Gunavishishtam Atma Andaram Ishvaraha. That is there are opposite kind of interpretations given to this by Valsyayana and Udayacharya. Udayacharya in his Kusumanjali, he brings in the concept of Ishvara in the Naya Darshana, and three things are attributed as Jnanam, Ichcha and Prayatnam. So there, the Antara, Atma Antara sound is taken as Ishvara as an aiding principle within us. And when you come to Vishishtadvaita of Ramanuja, he makes it more central as Antaryami Amrita. That is the immortal indweller. So even for a little ant to move around, to know its food or know its mate, and for all purposes of its life, there is an immortal indweller in it, an Antaryami. That Antaryami is considered as Ishvara. But there the Jiva is given a special status, that individuation is made somewhat a permanent feature. Whereas in Advaita Vedanta, Shankara, he cannot even think of the idea that all these individual beings for all eternity will remain as individual beings, but rather they are like him, reflections of one single light. If there are a million ponds, or a million surfaces that mirrors or reflects, and there is one sun. The one sun is seen clearly in a mirror. It is seen as something so feeble, like a little shining, a shimmering dot in a dewdrop, and it may not be even that clear in a muddy water. So it depends on the medium where it is reflecting, but in the source it's all one. And instead of this fragmented amritatva and antaryamitva of an Ishvara, these are all made superimpositions in the body, and the one unmoved mover is making everything move, everything change. The immovable mover, or the unmoved mover, as Aristotle puts it. In whichever sense it is, people belonging to that particular path has to go to that very source of light and life. When Jesus says, when St. John says, in the beginning was the Word, he also attributes to Word two qualities, life and light. So you have life because of the Logos of the Word. You have light because of the intelligence of the Logos. And in this verse, he does not say Brahman. He does not say Ishvara. He only says Tat. Avibhaktam cha pudeshu vibhaktam iva cha stidam pudapartru cha tadnyayam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha. Grasishnu means that which you can grasp. Prabhavishnu, that means that which enables a thing to function. So that functional, the cognitive element and the functional element, in both ways. Whether it is on the receptive side or on the affective side, both are attributed to that. So this one should arrive through meditation. Jyodhishamavida paramuchyade jnanam jneyam jnanagamyam pradisarvasya tishtadi. Thus the field and wisdom and what has to be known have been briefly told. My devotee, having known this, attains my state of being. Now nothing is far from the devotee, because all the three categories or aspects which are told here can be seen within one's own self. Iti kshetram tadha jnanam jneyam choktam samasadah matbhakta edat vijnaya madbhavayo babhadyate. Know you that nature and spirit are both beginningless. I know you also that modifications and their intrinsic modalities are born of nature. These are beginningless. Spirit is beginningless and nature is also beginningless. Prakritim purusham chaiva vidhinyadi upavapi vikaram cha gunan chaiva vidhi prakriti sambhavan. When you say Prakriti and Purusha, he was not speaking of Prakriti and Purusha directly before. He was speaking of Jnana and Jnaya, and also the Kshetra and Kshetrajna. And in that place he put Prakriti and Purusha here, and both are given a beginningless status. But the action is now transferred to Prakriti. But the understanding we were given so far was that the knower of the field is also the source of all actions. But here, according to the Sankhyan philosophy, Purusha does not do anything. It only gives the presence. But without that presence, nothing happens. And say the sun is only coming and standing there, it has no intention to produce vegetation on earth or to regulate the life of living beings on earth. As the source of solar energy goes on radiating, the mere presence of it is creating chemical changes, metabolic changes on earth in living beings, and they get regulated. So you can say it is just the nature of earth which is doing it. And there is no instrumentality, or at least there is no purposive behavior from the side of the sun. In the place of sun, if we put the self or the absolute Brahman, it is not the intention of Brahman to do it. But this question comes also in the Nyaya Vaisheshika Sutras, when they introduce a God to explain certain things, Ishvara. This question is asked: if Ishvara is unconcerned with the activities of people, apart from making an observation of it and judging the merit or demerit of it, of course that is not accepted in the Gita. The Gita position is that God neither accepts anybody's papa or anybody's punya. But if we follow the arguments in yoga, in Nyaya, why God creates at all if He cannot make everyone happy? So such are inconvenient questions. And here that question is bypassed by saying, now this is only a doing of Prakriti. And your soul is never affected. First of all, you are not bound at all. According to the Vedantin's position, it is sheer ignorance you think that something is going on and the phenomenal world is there. Prima facie there is no world. And therefore there is no good or bad also. But if you are within that system and you are convinced that a lot of good and bad is going on, then it is a Prakriti. And you have to see how the Purusha element in you is kept uncontaminated by the happenings of the Prakriti or doings of the Prakriti. That means a withdrawal is to be affected through your meditation, where you see distinctly how many autonomous functions are going on, like a reflex action, and your motivation is not there, your volition is not there. And if motivations and volitions are there, it's only because of a samskara which has gone malignant. And that brings the responsibility of purifying that malignancy so that your vasana won't create such occasions. When once you are transformed, you are changed, you see that When someone else is suffering, in that situation you are not suffering. So if it was something to which all species to be, all members of the species to be exposed, you should also have been. But a wise person who is in the same context is not afflicted by that. That means you can change, you can withdraw to the state of that witness. Purusha prakristho hi punkte prakritijan gunan karanam gunasangosya sadasadyo nijanmasu. The spirit, seated in nature, appreciates the modalities born of nature. Association with the modalities is the cause of birth as good or evil wombs. Upadrashtamanumanta cha harta pokta maheshwarah paramatmedi japyukto dehesmin purushapara. Supervisor and permitter, supporter, experiencer, the great Lord, and also called the Supreme Self, is the Supreme Spirit in the body. Here the Lord or the seer or the Purusha is given the place of a chairman, an Aktyaksha. He has only two functions: to nod his head in approbation or to say no. And Prakriti may or may not listen to it. If we listen, the Prakriti listens, then trouble is averted. If it goes against this wisdom directions given by the President, then it suffers. Yevam vetti purusham prakritinja gunaihi saha sarvadha vartamanopi nasapuyopi jayade. He who thus knows spirit and nature, together with the intrinsic modalities, though he may happen to be leading every kind of life, is not born again. ध्यानेनात्मनि पश्यन्ति केचिदात्मानमात्मना अन्ये सांख्येन योगेन कर्मयोगेन चापरे. By meditation some behold the self in the self by the self, others by Sankhya Yoga, unitive reasoning, and others by Karma Yoga, action unitively understood. This is a style of the Gita that even when it suggests one way, it recognizes so many other ways which are prevalent in the country, and all are given some sort of same status if they are not off the mark. अन्येत्येवमजानन्दा श्रुत्वान्येभ्यो उपासते तेऽपि जातितरन्त्येव मृत्युं श्रुतिपरायणाः. By others, not knowing as stated above, worship having heard from others, they also cross beyond death depending on hearsay. यावत् संजायते किंचित् सत्त्वं स्थावरजङ्गमं क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञ संयोगात् Tadvithi Paradarshapha. Whatever is produced, the unmoving or the moving, know you, O best of the Bharatas, Arjuna, that be from the union of the field and the knower of the field. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishthandam parameshwaram vinashyatsa vinashyandam ya pashyadi sapashyadi. He who sees the Supreme Lord abiding in a state of equality in all beings, within the perishing as the non-perishing, he sees. First, through meditation, we arrive at the dwelling on the Lord within our own self. And then, through an act of extrapolation, we also see that the same Lord is dwelling in all. And because of this immense love and reverence one has for the Absolute, for the Lord, the priyam which one has for oneself, that which enables you to excuse yourself, to appreciate yourself. You give a number of reasons why you are not wrong. The same you also extend to others. As here there is a capacity to move from your body situation or location to the body location of all other people. And irrespective of the social and other status of people, you will be able to see the Lord everywhere, and thus to cultivate that reverential feeling for all, maybe first theoretical, and after that becomes so real that you heartily notice any personal ego haunting any of your actions or thoughts. Samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavastidamishwaram na hinastyatmanatmahanam tado yadit parangadim. For he who sees the Lord seated equally everywhere destroys not the self by the self, and then he attains the supreme goal. Prakritaiva jagarmani kriyamanani sarvashah ya pashyadi tathatmanamagartaram sapashyadi. He who sees that all actions are done by nature alone, and likewise that the self is actionless, he truly sees. We do a number of things because of nature. Although in sophisticated society we take a personal responsibility, a man sneezes and then he says, "Excuse me." Why should he be excused? And who should excuse? Because sneezing is so automatic. If something goes into the nose, you sneeze. You cough and you say, "Excuse me." As if it is a wrong thing that you didn't inhibit your cough. It belongs to nature, Prakriti. But then you may ask, there are so many things which Prakriti does in a society. Should you allow everything to come out like that? Yeah, so some die needs to be drawn somewhere. Okay. That is a compromise which we make. So, a society made it impossible. Yeah, what you call the civilized society made everything impossible with the sophistication. The sannyasi said, "I go. I don't want to be with you." I'll go and sit in the forest. I don't understand you people. So he retires, he goes away. He says, when Prakriti is doing something, why do you quarrel with me? Nature is doing it. But you see, it's not nature. We turn nature, we change nature, sophisticate it. And so you should consider this. He said, goodbye. He goes away. When sannyasis from Rishikesh come to Marine Drive in Bombay, most fashionable place in Bombay, there are a couple of ashrams, and the sannyasis who live there, they use fork and spoon and eat on tables with all kinds of Western manners. And these poor sannyasis who come from Rishikesh, they didn't know what to do there, how to say it and how to eat. Everything is wrong. Whatever they do, it's all wrong. In the morning they come, they go and take a bath, and then as they do in Rishikesh, they bring their cow peanuts and then they hang it all on the front side of the flat, and then the manager of the ashram comes and make them all remove it. And they say, what kind of people here? They don't allow us even out of the bath to put our things for. No, that's not to be put there, they are told. So for this kind of thing, that has to be, you have to live more in close with nature and an acceptance of nature. Yada pudha bhrudak bhavam ekastam anupashyati tadeva javistaram brahma sambhadyate tada. When he perceives the distinct existence of beings established in the One, and from whence also their expansion, then he becomes the Absolute. Anaditvan nirgunatvat paramatmayam avya charirasto vidaundeya nakarodi nalipyade. Having no beginning, have no attributes, gunas, the Supreme Self suffers no decrease. Though dwelling in the body, O son of Kundi, Arjuna is neither acts, nor is it tainted. This is a position of some of the Zen Buddhists, that you are not bound and there is no liberation needed. And this is just seemingly so. Yatha sarvagadam saushmyadakasham no balipyade sarvatra vastido dehe tadhatma no balipyade. As the all-pervading subtle space principle Akasha is untarnished by reason of its subtlety, so the self seated everywhere in the body is untarnished. When physical illness comes and it's in your body, the person who has matured in his wisdom, he sees this is perishable, it should go. He is not worried or concerned about it, but then people around are very much confused. Say they want to do something immediately to correct it. It does not obstruct it, because that's also part of nature. This is particularly visible in the Ramanashram, where people were subjecting Maharshi to all kinds of treatments, and he could only laugh at that. But he allowed everyone to have their way. Yatha prakashayatyekah krishnam lokamimam ravihi kshetram kshetri tatha krishnam prakashayati bharata. Those who by the eye of wisdom perceive the difference between the field and the knower of the field, its bearing on elements, nature, emancipation, they go to the Supreme. Kshetra kshetrajñorevam andaram jnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti mokshancha ye vidur yanti te param. Okay, I wrongly read the previous one. As the sun illumines this whole world, so does the Lord of the field, O Bharata, illumine all the field. Those who by the eye of wisdom perceive the difference between the field and the knower of the field, its bearing on elements, nature, emancipation, they go to the Supreme. Thus, by knowing the knower and the field, both the relationship and the difference, we get a discrimination to discriminate in our transactional world, and that discrimination itself helps us for transcendence to enter into the higher state of union with the Absolute. Thus, we come to the close of the 13th chapter. Next chapter is Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti